Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. So there was a story that I wanted to talk about on Monday, and it's one of those things to where during the show I did not think about this story, but as soon as the story ended, I thought, I should have talked about this story that is going on in California at the University of California, Irvine campus, and I'm glad I waited. The reason I'm glad I waited is because there is new information about what is going on at UC Irvine. So the story that I wanted to talk about on Monday, and actually I probably would have talked about last Friday had I had good time management and actually recorded a show last Friday. Again, apologies on that. But the story is about the UC Irvine Student Council or student government sort of thing. And, well, there was a motion to remove the U.S. flag and all national flags from the student union. And, well, apparently people aren't happy about that. People are really upset because, you're destroying America by not putting this flag up in your student union or something along those lines. There's a story from the LA Times that I want to share with you. The story begins, students and faculty at UC Irvine are beginning to push back against the angry condemnation of 6 university students who created a national stir last week when they voted to remove the U.S. flag from a lounge. A petition signed by professors and students alike said the aggressive and sometimes shrill response to the students embodies the exact aspects of nationalism that the 6 had hoped to eliminate with the no flag vote. Those signs of nationalism being racism, xenophobia, and intimidation. The petition states, "We admire the courage and resolutions supporters amid this environment of political immaturity and threat and support them unequivocally." The vote by a student government last week to remove the U.S. flag and other flags from a lounge area was quickly vetoed days later by the student government's executive cabinet. But Monday, the voting was a trending topic, and there was a national backlash. An image posted on an American Strong Facebook page said, "These are the UC Irvine students that voted to have the American flag removed from the school campus lobby. Make them famous." Conservative radio and television commentator Todd Starnes, I believe, called the students un-American, and even the university's chancellor admonished the students' vote as being outrageous and indefensible. Now, I just want to pause here to say that no, it is not indefensible to say that we don't want flags of any national government in our student lobby. That is something that, should be defended, because I do agree that you have these people that are basically flag worshipers, to where they look at the flag, and while they will not admit to worshiping the flag, that's exactly what they're doing by these rituals that they do, where they basically they say a prayer to the flag that they think is somehow showing, I love my government so much that I say this thing to this piece of cloth with, patterns on it. Basically, you are praying to that flag when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, because you're not saying that I like my government and I will do things to protect my government. No, you're saying I pledge allegiance to the flag. Not to the government, not to the country, but to the piece of cloth. That is what you are doing. You are pledging to that cloth that you will do, certain things. You're pledging your allegiance. And then there's the U.S. flag code that says that, these are things that you are not supposed to do with the flag. You're not supposed to make reproductions of it that don't show the entirety. You're not supposed to put it on clothing, etc. But yet, I'm looking at the photos here from the LA Times, and they're showing a guy that is one of these flag worshipers wearing a T-shirt that is supposed to be the U.S. flag. And, of course, it doesn't show the full flag on there, so he is disrespecting the flag more so than the people that said, we're not going to fly this in the lobby of the student union anymore. So even the flag worshipers they're not consistent in their arguments. Basically, they just want something to get mad about, and they want to get riled up and say, you're un-American if you don't love the flag as much as I love the flag. And it just shows basically their ignorance about what they even stand for. And for the chancellor of the university to say that what the students did is indefensible is, I would say, just as ignorant as what the flag worshipers are doing. The story here from the LA Times continues. It says, increasingly, though, students and faculty at UC Irvine say it's the criticism and threats that's become indefensible. Some have taken the school's administration to task for not taking a more reasoned stance. For Nasreen Rahama, I hope I pronounced that correctly, a comparative literature professor who signed the petition, the flag vote seemed not unpatriotic, but rather an embrace of ethnic diversity on campus. She said it offered a valuable pedagogical exercise to think about what it means to belong to a nation that one loves, but understand that others may feel excluded. She said, we urge our students to be inquisitive, to be open to questioning ideas, and to keep an open mind. I think it has to be respected. She added that the threats are ugly and inappropriate, saying, if to be an American, a true believer of this country, is to wish to kill someone because they took down this flag, that is horrifying to me. And I have to agree. And I would even say that the people that basically are the military worshipers, they are just as bad. And a lot of times it's the same people. Now, I have probably talked about this before, but I've seen these posts that say, if you don't stand behind our troops, feel free to stand in front of them. Which basically while not saying, if you don't support this war, you should die, that's exactly what they're saying without actually saying it. Because let's break down the structure of that sentence. If you don't stand behind our troops, i.e., if you don't support them, feel free to stand in front of them, i.e., you should be used as a human shield to protect somebody from the military from being killed. So therefore, and this is what the military lovers are saying, I'm just breaking it into plain English, if you don't support our wars, you should be executed. And that is horrifying to me. There's more on the flag-worshiping fiasco at UC Irvine when we come back on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Opening a wallet is quick and easy, and for merchants, there are no transaction fees on the first $1 million worth of transactions. All of your funds on Coinbase are safe, with approximately 90% of customer funds being stored offline, and all wallets are stored using AES 256 encryption. To date, Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month or any amount of Bitcoin per month, thanks to the recurring payment options provided by Coinbase. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's FANS.fppradio.com. Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. The article here from the LA Times about the fiasco at UC Irvine, to where some people got really upset that the student council voted to remove all national flags from the student union, and now people are standing up to those who were getting upset. The story continues. It says Frank Wilderson III, a professor... hold on, let me do that properly. Frank Wilderson III, a professor in several departments, said he believes students would have peacefully resolved the flag controversy, but the school's administration failed to uphold the integrity of student self-governing. He said administrators instead essentially threw the students under the bus. A full student government meeting on Tuesday, when the flag issue was expected to be debated, was canceled after the school received threats that were deemed to be credible. A meeting scheduled for Thursday was also canceled. So no word yet as to when the next student council meeting will be at UC Irvine, but it doesn't seem as though the flag issue is dead there. Hopefully things can be resolved peacefully, and hopefully it doesn't wind up being resolved with, some giant, huge U.S. flag being draped up to the exclusion of all others. Now, here is my sort of... I want to play peacemaker here. So here's my sort of Solomon's wisdom sort of compromise. If you're going to have a U.S. flag, then maybe you should also have the national flag of every student who either currently attends or has attended or who may attend UC Irvine. So basically, have the flags of every nation in the student lobby, or have the flags of no nations. The no flag thing, that is what people are upset about. So my compromise to the people there at UC Irvine, and hopefully somebody there listens to this show, and if you know anybody that goes to UC Irvine, share this show with them so that they can hear my compromise of a solution. So have the flag of every nation, and then you are being inclusive, and make sure that no flag is larger than the others. And you can buy strings of flags where they have, like all of Europe, where it's strung together. And then you just, drag that across a wall, and then you have all the flags from Asia, all the flags from Africa, all the flags from the Americas, and all the flags from Oceania. So you have all of those up, and then every flag is there, except for the flags of some unrecognized countries. But I doubt that there are any students from Abkhazia, Transnistria, South Ossetia, North Ossetia, and there's a lot of other unrecognized countries that are trying to gain international recognition but don't yet have that. So that is my compromise. Hopefully someone will do something, and hopefully the final resolution there in UC Irvine is something that is a little more inclusive than just, yay, America. And speaking of yay, America, Wikimedia, the company, or rather the foundation that runs Wikipedia, is actually suing the U.S. government, specifically the National Security Agency and the Department of Justice. The story here comes from the BBC. And isn't it interesting that for some of the good news about what is happening in the U.S., and when I say good, I don't mean, like, good news, everybody. I just mean news that is important. That a lot of the important news does not come from American media outlets. And I find that to be very interesting because I read the news all the time. And I have several go-to sources in the U.S. for news, and every now and then I will have to look outside of those to find out what is really happening other than the things that are, making like huge national headlines. And this is one of those where I get a email. It's a daily email digest from the Freedom to Read Foundation and another organization that is connected with them. And this was a link in the email list the email that came out yesterday about the Wikimedia Foundation suing the NSA. And again, the story here comes from the BBC. It says the NSA's mass surveillance program violates U.S. law on freedom of speech, according to a lawsuit brought by the Wikimedia Foundation. The legal action has been filed against the spy agency and the U.S. Department of Justice. The legal action, co-signed by 8 other organizations, seeks to end the NSA's large-scale surveillance efforts. The foundation is the nonprofit group that oversees the running of the Wikipedia online encyclopedia. The Wikimedia Foundation said it was taking action against the NSA's so-called upstream surveillance work, which targets communication with people not in the U.S. The Wikimedia Foundation alleges that such spying violates U.S. laws on free speech and those that govern against unreasonable search and seizure. The scale of the monitoring carried out by the NSA has been revealed in documents made public by whistleblower Edward Snowden, and hopefully I'll be able to get to a story about Edward Snowden later in this episode. So the documents made public by Edward Snowden over the last couple of years. Some of those documents showed that the NSA tapped the Internet's backbone network to siphon off data. The backbone is made up of high-speed cables that link big Internet service providers and key transit points on the net. Leela Trykov, executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation, said in a blog post, by tapping the backbone of the Internet, the NSA is straining the backbone of democracy. Targeting the backbone means the NSA casts a vast net and inevitably scoops up data unrelated to any target, and will also include domestic communications, violating rules governing the NSA, or rather governing what the NSA can spy on. Information in the Snowden papers revealed that Wikipedia has been explicitly targeted. Treitkov added, by violating our users' privacy, the NSA is threatening the intellectual freedom that is central to people's ability to create and understand knowledge. In an accompanying editorial published in the New York Times, Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wells said he hoped that the lawsuit would bring an end to the NSA's dragnet surveillance Internet traffic. Other organizations joining the lawsuit include Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and the Global Fund for Women. The NSA and the DOJ have yet to comment on the legal action. Are you really surprised that they're not commenting? And when they do, they'll just say, we can't talk. There's something currently going on. There's more when we come back.
During the 2013 Porcupine Freedom Festival, Davi Barker presented an idea for a renegade psychological experiment. Since then, he has refined his idea and put his plan and research into writing. He explains, we aim to show the world beyond a shadow of a doubt that power corrupts absolutely and corrupt authority deserves no obedience. Authoritarian Sociopathy is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. ExpressCoin is the best choice for buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and more. ExpressCoin prides themselves on their customer service, so much so that the back end on the website should allow them to be even more focused on your needs. Get your cryptocurrencies with money order, check, wire transfer, or cash deposit. Get started at expresscoin.fppradio.com. That's expresscoin.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for t-shirts, precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. There's an Amazon shopping iframe built into the website, or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. So I am pleasantly surprised that there is another lawsuit against the NSA. There have been several attempts to try to limit what the NSA does, and courts consistently wind up throwing those out. But hopefully the Wikimedia Foundation winds up having more success. I remember covering a story back in, I think it was late 2012, early 2013, where there was a lawsuit against the NSA, and a federal court threw it out because the defendants did not have any proof that they may possibly be targeted or have had any of their information collected by the NSA. And then it was just several months later when Edward Snowden wound up releasing some documents showing, hey, as a matter of fact, the NSA is spying on people. And there was the vote in the U.S. House, I believe in 2013, that would have limited some kind of something that the NSA was doing. And, well, because the NSA director said, well, no, blah, 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 we're not spying on Americans. They voted, and then some information came out, and, well, they were basically 7 votes short. It was one of those things to where if 7 of the representatives would have voted the other way, this would have passed. But I noticed that they have not brought that bill back up, and they have not brought forth, any real meaningful bills to limit what the NSA can do. But hopefully, one of these lawsuits does succeed and goes through, or hopefully the Republicans and Democrats just decide, you know what, the NSA is too big, need to get rid of it. But I don't think that is ever going to happen. And one of the reasons that I don't think that's ever going to happen is because they really, really like the power that they have. But, since I did want to talk about Edward Snowden, and in some ways this kind of ties in to where the group Downsize DC, there's the Downsize DC Foundation, and then they've got the educational and the policy sides. So there's downsizedc.org that does the, contact your state rep, or not state, but your congressman and your senators. And then downsizedc.com is the other side that doesn't get into any of the contact your reps. They're not focusing on changing policy so much as they are on just educating people. But downsizedc.org puts out a thing a couple times a week. Sometimes it's, less often. Sometimes it's more often. But generally, once, twice a week tops, where they have the Downsizer Dispatch. And one of the things that came out just a couple of days ago says, has Edward Snowden proven that Congress needs to read the bills? And so they have a letter that you can send to your representatives And I just want to share this with you because it is, in my opinion, spot on. And then there's another one that came out a couple days after that says where Edward Snowden is wrong. So I want to share both of these with you because it's very fitting to what is going on with the lawsuit and with the NSA spying. So has Edward Snowden proved Congress needs to read the bills? It begins, says you may borrow from or edit this letter. And this is the letter that you can then copy, paste into your Congress critters. Edward Snowden showed us how the Patriot Act was used in ways Representative Jim Sensenbrenner, its sponsor, never intended. Its Section 215 puts virtually no limits on the Fed's ability to collect information, including bulk collection of phone calls. Perhaps that's not what Sensenbrenner wanted, but it's in the bill. This would have been revealed if Patriot Act was actually read and debated in 2001. Instead, the USA Patriot Act was introduced, passed, and signed into law in just 3 days. This means Congress is to blame for the behavior of NSA spooks. It never read and hardly debated the USA Patriot Act with its broad, vague powers. In contrast, the Read the Bills Act requires you to have read or heard read the bills you support. Gives you at least 7 days to read the bill and raise objections before they come up for a vote. We'd have clearer, better written laws, meaning fewer legal justifications when presidents abuse power. Stop the abuse. Introduce the Downsize DC Read the Bills Act. End of letter. And then it has a link to where you can send that letter. And I will post this, again, in the show notes so that if you want to, you can send that to your Congress critters. And then somebody that works for the Congress critter will then email you a form letter that basically says, thank you for writing to us. As you know, blah, 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 where they pick up on 1 or 2 keywords. And then they send you a form letter. But, at least hopefully somebody winds up reading this. If nothing else, the NSA is tracking all of this info, so maybe somebody from the NSA is reading what I'm sending to my member of Congress. The next one is where Edward Snowden is wrong. And this actually sparked a little bit of debate on my Twitter feed when I've got this thing set up to where when I post something on my website and I repost the Downsized Dispatch on fpp.cc. So there's something set up to where when I post something, it gets posted on Twitter, and somebody responded and said, of course Edward Snowden's wrong, he's a minarchist. And I said, did you even read the article? And he was like, of course I didn't read it. So let me read this for you and explain where Edward Snowden is wrong. Last week, the news told us Edward Snowden is suddenly homesick and ready to cut a deal to come home. That's a lie. He's always wanted to return to the U.S., but the condition was always a fair trial. I actually disagree. Instead of a fair trial, Edward Snowden deserves a pardon. But he won't get a pardon unless President Barack Obama is pressured on all political fronts, including Congress. But that means you must pressure Congress to support Snowden's pardon. That's why Downsize DC created the Pardon Edward Snowden campaign. If you agree that Snowden deserves a pardon, you may borrow from or copy this letter. For those of you so inclined to send letters to your Congress critters, again, I will post the link in the show notes. And I can't agree with the people over at Downsize DC more that Edward Snowden does deserve a pardon. But, of course, he will not get it because Barack Obama is not interested in giving him a pardon. And if you think that Rand Paul is going to wind up doing something, if he ever winds up magically getting elected by some group of unicorns floating around, and that Rand Paul is a libertarian, you're dead wrong. Rand Paul has said that Edward Snowden belongs in jail. That's it for this week. Don't forget, online in the meantime, fppradio.com.